If you're a band or orchestra director looking to streamline your rehearsals and help your students take ownership of their intonation, you need to know about Tuner Caddy. It was invented by Mark Caspersen, a veteran band director with 38 years in the classroom. Like lots of us, he was tired of drop tuners, scattered materials, and constant reminders. So he created a solution, and after 57 prototypes, the Tuner Caddy was born. It's been used by some of the most respected programs in the country: Mouse Middle School, Cooper Junior High School, Harbor Creek and Creek Valley, Rushing Middle School, Stiles and Grisham Middle Schools, and the Henry Middle School Band, which was a 2024 CCC Honor Band of Texas. These aren't just good groups, they're the best of the best. And when they step on stage at Midwest, TMEA, or Music for All, many of them have Tuner Caddy right there with them. It's been used by university music ed professors to help train future teachers because it works. The classic fits most stands and includes a pencil holder. Student Pro is slim, binder ready, and magnetized, and the new Tuner Metronome combo transposes and has a 6-foot mic, ideal for students and directors alike. You can get them at tunercaddy.com, Music and Arts, Sweetwater, Premier Music Teaching Aids, and local retailers. They even offer grant writing support for educators. Check them out. Excelsior Music Publishing is proud to sponsor the Growing Band Director podcast with composers who care about the educational needs of your students. Excelsior Music Publishing offers music for concert band and jazz ensemble, as well as method books and solo and ensemble works for all levels and occasions. This includes a wide selection of festive music for fall, holiday, and Christmas concerts. Find music for your next performance at excelsiamusic.com. That's EXCELCIA music.com. Do you spend valuable time all year correcting students' hand position instead of focusing on the music? Thumb Gummy solves this. These simple, cost-effective teaching aids fit on trumpets and trombones to guide the right hand into proper position, reducing tension, improving form, and giving tactile feedback so students can focus on playing, not adjusting. It's easy to use, comfortable, and designed by teachers and players, not just for your beginners, but for older students as well. Join thousands of students and bands already seeing the difference. And keep an eye out for our new clarinet thumb rest coming soon. Visit thumbgummy.com to learn more. That's thumbgummy.com. Sponsorship for today's podcast is provided in part by Austin Custom Brass. Austin Custom Brass is the largest Adams brass dealer in the United States. Adams Brass makes some of the world's finest trumpets, flugelhorns, trombones, euphoniums, and tubas. Find out why some of the most renowned musicians in the world play Adams Brass, like many of the brass musicians from the Rotterdam Philharmonic Orchestra. Trent Austin, founder of Austin Custom Brass, is also an Adams artist. You can call Austin Custom Brass today at 816-410-0826 to learn more about Adams Brass, or visit their website at www.austincustombrass.biz. Austin Custom Brass is located in Kansas City, Missouri. You can visit their shop to try Adams Brass instruments and many other brands of instruments, or you can call them online, have stuff shipped to you. They work with an entire band program. You can do bids in the PO process and fit within your budget and all that. They are an amazing resource for brass players. Check them out. Welcome back to the Growing Band Director podcast. This is episode number 284. I'm here with Mark Caspersen. Mark, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. You're coming to us from the Habits Institute down in South Carolina. Am I correct?
Yep, we just wrapped it up about an hour and a half ago, and it was really very, very good. I highly recommend it.
So tell us some of your takeaways.
Um, it's well, my biggest takeaway is it's not about the music, it's about the kids
Mm-hmm.
and building those relationships and getting things going with the kids. This clinic, or I don't want to call it clinic, I call it band camp, is just wonderful in that there's so many great directors here and they're all sharing ideas and getting better. And we're talking just incredible directors. Dr. Tim was here. I just spent about 30 minutes having a conversation with him, and that was really inspiring. I got to do some games with Mallory Thompson yesterday, and that was intimidating, but it was pretty wonderful. There's just so many great, great directors. So yeah.
So when you're talking about the relationship aspect and like relating to kids and all that, how that comes first, what are some, did you hear some practical things that you could use or you could share with us?
I've been sending myself text messages, um, no, as notes because I don't want the convention forgets, and so I'll send myself a text message, and I get two of them, and so that's been kind of good. So some of the things, and these are just real broad, general things. One of them was, to if you always have something in the folder that they can play today, so you
Mm.
can get past the technique and get into the music, and really give them success early on. And I thought that was really a pretty smart thing to do. Even, even with your beginners, always have that backup beginner line that you can always go back to and say, hey, let's do this with this, and build those musical moments with them on stuff like that. So that was one thing.
Some people will use like a ballad warm up tune or something. I heard somebody recently say, I think it was Air for Band or something like that. Like
Right.
like they literally play a piece to start something that they can play and share and make music.
Absolutely, absolutely. I like to take in the beginners, one of the first things we learn as beginners is hot cross buns. And so I like to really get that going in them really, really well, and then use it to teach them the different aspects of composition, and dynamics and all that stuff. It's something they can learn really fast, but they can really connect with, and then you can really expand their musical knowledge with it. So that was really fun. Let's see, what else do I have here in my trusty text messages? Oh, Mallory Thompson. This one was great. She goes, there are never problems in your rehearsal. Don't ever say you have any problems in your rehearsal. There are only opportunities for you grow and make yourself better. And I thought that was really, really a good way of putting things here. You don't have problems, you have opportunities. And that really works for just life in general, I think.
I wonder if, yeah, that's cool. What about the kid who gets up and throws his trombone at another kid and storms out of the room? Is
Well, that's an
that's also an
opportunity to have a
opportunity?
conversation. Okay, there you go. Let's let you cool down, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna see if your trombone works. Um, I like those kids because usually those are the kids that I can turn around. Um, I I like to find the turkeys in the band and turn them into my eagles. And so I see that as a challenge, not as a problem. If you got rid of that kid, you can guarantee somebody's going to step right into his shoes and take his place and make it even better. So I
Probably
don't like to
also
do that.
in the trombone section.
Usually in the trombone section, could have been a percussionist. The percussionists are probably hiding in the percussion closet doing something they shouldn't, but trombones, you can see them pretty well. Yeah, but super
So
fun.
I haven't even asked. I know you teach in Texas. Where do you
Mhm.
teach? What levels do you teach?
I teach in Plano, Texas. I teach on the east side. We feed into Plano East. I teach at Bowman Middle School. I think this is my 22nd or 23rd year there. Um, I was the head director there until last year, and I saw myself getting a little frustrated and burned out. And I saw my assistant thinking that he might want to be a head director somewhere and leaving. So rather than spend the last few years of my career teaching a new assistant, I just approached him and said, "Hey, why don't you become the head director and let me be the assistant?" And that was probably the best thing I've ever done in my career. I had so much fun this last year just being able to teach and not have to make the big heavy decisions, and being able to be more of a mentor. um, we've developed over the years a really good relationship in that we team teach every
Mm.
band. He conducts the wind ensemble, I conduct the wind ensemble, he conducts the symphonic band, I conduct. And so for contests for the last 5 years, we've both conducted everything, and so that really didn't change. So I got to work with the more advanced kids as well as the younger kids, and that's really worked out well.
So
But
what does the team teaching look like? Are you like one on the podium, one walking around, or two moving around with the band, one
yeah,
taking a group out, and
it could be
or
that. It could be anything.
yeah,
It's whatever the person who's primarily responsible for that group thinks needs to be done that day. Um, like, since I was doing the symphonic band, there were days when I'd say, okay, we got to take these clarinets out. We got to get them going, so he'll take the clarinets out for that day. Or it might be, hey, I need you in the back of the room, just listening and, raising your hand when you got something, let me know, it's a really collaborative effort, and it's really fun. I mean, it's really, really fun when you can work the band with someone else and have the same goal. And the kids like it too, because we're able to find the good things that are happening and point them out that the other one might miss, as well as find the things that need to be fixed. And so it's just another set of ears. We don't believe in, two people in a room and one of them's doing paperwork. That just doesn't work. It's just a waste of resources.
I've found that to be the same. Co-teaching, you're right, is just so much more fun. It's like
Oh, absolutely.
it's like you're hanging with that other director, and the kids are also in the room, right? It's like there's a little bit of that adult energy, which is nice to balance with the kid energy.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got a really great working relationship, and the kids know it when we're kind of gigging each other while one of them's on the podium, the other ones might be giving a hard time, and they can feed on that too. And It's always productive and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
You talked about kind of starting to feel the burnout.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I know, so you're at Habits now, and I know you kind of go to a bunch of conferences, both for your company, but also just to try to get better.
Yeah.
You even mentioned to me that listening to the podcast has kind of helped you feel like you might extend your career a little bit.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so that can you talk about like that, if you're when you're in like the last 10 years or whatever of your career, that how you get energy from searching for new ideas and
Oh,
growth.
absolutely. Absolutely. I went into the beginning of last year pretty certain that it was going to be my last year. I'd already made the switch. We were gonna switch, and I was just gonna be the assistant and mentor and all that stuff. And it totally changed my perspective on the year because I had the pressure of all the paperwork and stuff being off and making the big decisions, but I still got to really teach, which is what I really love, is just being able to teach. So um, it's definitely extended how long I want to work.
Mm.
I think I'm in year 39, and I can see myself going a little bit further. And coming to the Habits Institute this week really energized me again. I mean, it's so much fun, and I highly recommend, if you can find, if you can't find a good clinic to go to, find a veteran band director that wants to talk band and go talk band, and just let them mentor you. Or just, pick up the phone and call somebody. Email me. I mean, I will talk your ear off. So yeah.
It's funny you say that. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever been compared to Tom Brady before, but as a New England fan, Tom Brady is, one of my sports idols, right? So when
Uh-huh.
he got to be 40 and people kept saying, when are you going to retire? He's like, I've just figured this game out. Like, why do I want to retire now? I've had so much experience. I know what the other team's doing. I'm not going to retire anytime soon. So I thought of you, it's like, but when you've been doing it long enough, like you figure some stuff out. So some of your best years can be your last years, I would think, as long as you have the energy and you're in a good situation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's I often ask why aren't you retiring? It's like, well, I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's the big thing. I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing, but yet I also know I don't know that very much. I mean, the other day I was watching Mallory Thompson rehearse a bunch of directors on some things, and I was just going, "Oh my God, I am so incompetent," you know. But I learned so much, and I could take that back, and I can work that into hot buns in a heartbeat. It's going to be great. So it's all a matter of just thinking about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and keep doing it.
Thinking about the relationship side of things, if you go back to you and your band room, like what's a way that you form relationships with every kid in the room? Is there like a practical thing that you do to make sure you touch base with kids?
Well, I'm not on the podium when they come in the room. I'm, kind of guiding them to their spots and getting them going, saying, "How's it going?" Patting them on the back and all that stuff. But when I get on the podium, I expect them to all have eyes on me, and that'll take some time at the beginning of every year, but eventually it gets there. And then before we start, I meaningfully look at every single kid in the eyes, and so they know that I see them. And sometimes I can tell a kid's having a bad day, and so I'll make a mental note of that and not lean on the tuba section so much or whatever. But I think just that little connection really helps. And then of course, sometimes in the middle of rehearsal, somebody will do something great, and I'll just get off the rehearsal podium and I'll say, "Samantha, what's your mom's phone number?" And go over the phone and call her mom, and they're all thinking, "Oh my God, what's he doing?" And then I'll just start bragging on Samantha. And of course, the mom loves it, Samantha loves it, the rest of the kids go, "Oh my gosh, I want that to be me." And so then they lift the rehearsal up even more, and we get more accomplished. So it's just about those little things, about building those relationships with those kids, that really makes it fun. And again, it's not about the music, it's about the kids. And once you hook the kids, you can do anything with them.
um One thing I used to do, I still do a lot of times. So how like it's funny how year to year you kind of do things differently. You don't always plan it. It's just like every year and every group is a little bit different. There was a bunch of years that every single day I was outside the room and I gave a fist bump to every kid, and we every kid had like a different fist bump or handshake or whatever it was. And then so I had a kid who's now a high school band director herself, and she came back and she was teaching, and she's like, I heard this thing in a class about how you should connect with every kid every single day. And her eyes light up and she's like, was that what you were doing when you were out in the hallway? I was like, Yes, that's exactly what
Yes,
I
it
was
is.
doing. And
Yeah.
so she remembered that.
Oh yeah, and they do. I mean, I have kids of kids that have come back, or kids that now have kids that are in my program that come back and say, "I remember when you did this to us," and the kid will
Mhm.
say, "He does that now." So that's kind of fun. I mean, that's really fun.
I also, you said kind of not picking on a kid or whatever, depending on what kind of day they're having. This is, I don't know if this is more of a choir thing. I've actually never done this, but one of the teachers I respect the most, his name is Rob, and he teaches here in Maine. He's a chorus teacher. And
Mhm.
he, every day before he starts rehearsal, he just has the kids give him a 1 to 5, like a quick
Oh yeah.
model of the room. What kind of day are we having? A 1 is like, we have some serious issues here, and a 5 is I'm on cloud nine. And so he can kind of scan the room and see how to approach them that day. I've never done that. But it seems like a great idea.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I haven't done it either, but
Hmm.
that's another thing that I might have to send a text here in a minute, to put in my toolbox because that's a really good one. That's a good one.
Um, let's talk about solving problems because
Okay.
you seem like, I mean, you're an inventor and you're a band director.
Yeah.
And I think I even say in the Tuner Caddy ad, right, something about on one of the ads that like when you saw a problem, then you went ahead and did what quote unquote any band director would do, even though nobody did it until you um,
Right.
come up with a solution. So if people
Right.
haven't, people have heard of Tuner Caddy, and if they haven't, they are now. Um, tell us a little bit about it and how you kind of came about it.
Yeah. Well, it was it was UIL contest, which is our big state contest in Texas.
Yeah.
It was UIL contest, I believe 2022 or 21. I can't remember which now. But we were doing we used tuners and they just sit on the stand. And we were on stage and we were in the middle of our slow piece and we were recording. Let me back up. We use our UIL recordings for our contest, like if we want to send off for mark of excellence or citation of excellence. Those are the recordings that we have to use because we're a Title I school and we can't afford to go and record someplace like other bands do. So it's really important that we get a good recording at UIL.
Hmm.
Well, in the middle of the slow tune, of course, a tuner fell down and you could hear it, and it just frustrated me to no end. It really upset me.
All right. What section?
Well,
What section was it?
oh, it was clarinet.
Oh,
Of course, it was clarinet, and it was right in front, and it was just, oh, it was horrible. But I didn't have any choice. That was the recording I had to use. But it was right before or after spring break, and my son happened to be visiting, and he had just gotten a 3D printer. And he was saying, "Yeah, you can do this, and you can make this, and look what I made." I was going, "Really? How did you do that?" And he goes, "Well, I just designed it in this program, then I put it in here, and I did this and this, and here it is." And I'm thinking, okay, there's there's something I can do here that I can fix those stinking tuners on the stands and get rid of this problem. And so that summer, I downloaded Fusion 360, taught myself how to use that, which is not easy. I don't recommend that. And then I bought a 3D printer, a cheap one, which I don't recommend either, and taught myself how to do that. And then all summer I just designed, printed, redesigned until I come up with something I was really happy with. And then I had a friend that had an injection molding business, and I took it to him and I said, "Is this something that can be done?" And he said, "Yeah." So we worked it through, and by December we had prototypes and working models. And I had a friend that was playing at Midwest that year. Her name is Kim Cooley at Creek Valley in Louisville. She's amazing. You should have her on your podcast. She's amazing.
Roger that.
But I mean, she's great. But I asked her, do you want to use these and tell me what you think? And I said, I will give you a full set of them as long as you mention me in the program. And she did, and she used them, and it's just taken off from there. It's been really exciting. But it was literally born out of frustration and a
Yeah.
need for it to be better. And the great thing about it is I did it to get the tuners secure, but now I don't use it for that reason. I use it to get the tuners in front of the kids so the kids can start opening their ears and listening. And the benefits of that alone have just been incredible because now we have lots of little band directors that are listening in the rehearsals and fixing intonation the entire rehearsal. It's not just a one and done thing. It's a rehearsal. It's through the entire rehearsal we're fixing and we're checking unisons and checking pitches and tuning the low D on trumpets and the fourth position in trombones or fifth position in trombones, all of a sudden, those are not the monsters that they could be. And so it's been really, really cool. And then there's so many things about it that have just grown out of that one little tuner falling off the stand. I mean, it's been really incredible.
Are there any other features about the Tuner Caddy that you haven't mentioned here?
Um, well, we have two now. We have two models. We have the classic, which fits on the top and the bottom of the stand, and it can be, moved around a lot. And then we have the Student Pro, which fits only on the top of the stand, but it also has magnets, so it fits on wire music stands. Um, it has a pencil holder, which pencils are a must in my rehearsals. I
Yep.
mean, we don't start unless everybody has a pencil, and I'll wait until they get up and get one. But it has a pencil holder, and the way I set them up in my room is I have everybody put them on the top of their stand, and when I take attendance, I'm looking to see if they have their pencil and their tuner, and if they don't get the daily points that they should, or they're absent. And that's really been, it's part of the setup, so it's really helped a lot.
I had a question. Oh, for somebody who doesn't use tuners in their band room, and they're thinking about, okay, I'm going to start. What is
Yep.
your, not from the tuner caddy side of things, say they have
No.
it or don't have it, but from
Yeah.
somebody who uses tuners, like what's your
Yeah.
advice for how they get started with it?
Start small, but make it a habit. It's got to be a habit. Um, for example, the way I started it, we start with breathing, of course, and we just play concert Fs, and we'll play whole note concert Fs. And we really center in on that concert F. We'll do F around the room where every section, listens to concert F. We'll adjust and we really lock that in. And that may take, a couple of weeks before it gets really, really good. But once it really gets good, then you can start expanding it. And the kids will know it. They will definitely know, whether or not they're out of tune because you ask a lot of questions. You ask, okay, like especially during F around the room, we'll do it and then I'll say, okay, what section really nailed it? What section is really playing it in tune? And they'll be able to name it, or I'll help them a little bit. And then I'll say, okay, now what section really needs a little bit of improvement? And boy, they're quick to point out who it is. And it's gotten to where now we don't worry about section, we worry about individuals. And my room is a really big place of trust. And so, when someone calls somebody out, it's not out of, spite or criticism. It's out of, okay, we just need help over here. Like, for example, one time I had a tuba player and he's a region tuba player, great tuba player. He's wonderful, but man, he was stinking it up back there. And I had a little saxophone player and she goes, so and so is out of tune. And he goes, no, I'm not. I'm getting green lights. And I'm going, okay, we got a problem. And then I think, okay, what does your number say? And he goes, 454. Oh, okay. Well, that's really good. Let's change it to 440 and see what happens. And of course, it fixed the problem. But they'll call each other out. It's really good. And once you get the kids taking control of that aspect of the rehearsal, it can lead to the kids taking control of how's the attacks for these notes, how are the releases, what do you think about the shape of the phrase, because they're using their ears. And that's really cool because then you're not being the dictator of a rehearsal, you're being a facilitator and you're helping them make musical decisions with what they need to do. And man, it's so much fun then because then they're vested. They're really wanting to get better. And it's not just the top kids that'll do it. We have three bands at Bowman. The third band actually was a better rehearsing band this year than the top band because they were really wanting to prove something and get better. And the beginners will do the same thing. It's all about building those relationships and letting them take control of the rehearsal. And you just have to trust, and that's really hard. But
Um,
you just have to do it.
couple other questions regarding this. Because some people will say once you start using the tuner, they stop using their ears.
I totally disagree.
Yeah.
Totally disagree. And you could take the tuners away, or we play games where we switch tuners. They'll stay hooked up, but they'll switch tuners. And so they're actually monitoring somebody else. And so we do that. But then we'll say, okay, turn your stands around. And so I'm the one that can see the green lights.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, okay, what section do you think had the most green lights? And they can't see, so they don't know. But I can tell them, okay, yeah, it was the flute section was wonderful. Oboes, yeah, okay, oboes, turn your stands back around. You need to look at it. But and so they know that they need to use their ears. And the instant anybody ever says, they're a crutch, I say, no, they're not a crutch. They're a tool to help the kids know what is right. I mean, they don't know they're in tune when they're playing beginning notes. I mean, and they don't know until you teach it. And you can't teach it if you don't have a solid reference point for everybody. And so that's the way I approach it.
You have them. So they all are. Does every instrument clip on?
Yep, every
Yep.
instrument's clipped on. Every instrument's clipped on, and the percussion they have to have them too. But of course, they only use the tuner for the tuning timpani. But they check tempos. I mean, everybody uses it in some way. It's just required. It's a standard. It's a procedure, and man, it will change the way you teach.
And is there like a tuner model that people typically use, or recommended ones that work better than others?
Of course, I would recommend the Tuner Caddy Tuner TC360M, but you can use any. When I was designing it, I had a bunch of tuners in my band room, and so I did it as a universal design. So there's not really one that works any better than the others. Um, I Whenever I first started, most of the tuners weren't transposable. They were all, concert pitch. And that's a little bit of a stumbling block if you're not into teaching the kids transpositions. But that's another area where I saw the problem and we've changed it, we fixed it, and all my kids know transposition now from day one as beginners. But since, I had a lot of feedback, we want them to be transposable.
Yeah.
Well, the new Korg does that, and mine actually does it too. So now you can key it in to be in the key of B flat, F, E flat, or C. And so when you say trumpets play a concert B flat, they can see a C on their tuner. So
What was I going to say? Um, oh,
oh,
how do you? Okay, so you're a band director, right? You're trained
yeah.
in how do you build a tuner metronome? Like how do you make your own?
I went on the web and looked, and I found one that I could have manufactured, and I contacted that company and I said, I like this. It's a starting point, but I'd like for it to do this. I'd like for it to have a 6 foot microphone cord to go with it. I want it to be all in one thing. And so that's how I did it.
Got it. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, as a longtime middle school band director, let's talk a little
Mhm.
bit of repertoire.
Yeah.
So we haven't really planned off air much of this, so this is all off the cuff. Um,
Oh boy.
yeah, what are a couple pieces that you're like people should know this piece, and don't shy away from pieces you think everybody knows, because a lot of people listening don't know pieces that you like.
Okay. Of course, the hot composer right now is Randall Standridge, and he's got a lot of great stuff out there. So look at that stuff. I mean, look at all of that stuff. I really like his music. The kids latch onto it. Um, it can go from super easy to pretty difficult pretty quick. You can find something for your band in his library. So all of that is really good. Um, One of my favorite all-time pieces is Contempo. That's a really good one. Contempo is really good.
Why do you like it?
It sounds way harder than it is, but there's a lot of teachable moments in it. And it sounds a little contemporary. It's pretty good. Um,
What
yeah,
grade
I like
level?
that one a
What
lot.
grade level is it?
It's great too.
Grade two.
Yeah, it's a great too.
All right. Well, since you mentioned it, why don't we listen to it? Let's do a quick pause.
Okay.
We'll throw in a recording here. What's another piece or composer you want to talk about?
Well, J. Rod Hall is really good. I enjoy his stuff. Tripwire is so much fun. I did that 2 years ago, with for contests, and that was really, really fun. And then of course, You Better Slay is a great winter concert piece. But his stuff is really, really good. You should, I mean, check out his stuff. And his breadth of composition is expanding. Not all his stuff sounds the same, and so that's really cool. Um, Christina Hoos is wonderful. She's a wonderful human being, and her music is reflected. I mean, it's she's so talented. She's really very, very good. I like her
Is there
stuff.
a piece of hers that you want us to listen to?
Of Locks and Thistles is really good. Let's see what else. Oh my gosh, it's slipping my mind. That's the one that I just got done doing.
All right, let's listen to that one.
Yeah.
Tell us about it before we hear part of it.
It's an Irish ballad. Nice and smooth, lots of emotion. Um, Lots of mature sounds need to be made, but many, many teachable moments, phrasing. I like doing that stuff with young kids. I don't shy away from it because I think if you can introduce it correctly and early enough, it's just going to make everything else better.
And is this a grade two as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here it is, of locks and thistles. Who's a composer that maybe doesn't get as much play now that like you really liked from your earlier years as a teacher?
Oh, Jim Swearingen for sure. When I was in junior high and went to honor band, we played Novena and Majestica, and those are a couple pieces that I'd really like to play on my retirement
Hmm.
concert, just to kind of go back and relive my youth a little bit. That he was the Randall Standards of his day. He had everything out, and everybody wanted to play him, and it was great. And I think those are overlooked sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest going back and looking at some of his early works. They're a little more challenging, but they're good. Claude Smith, he's got some great stuff. Imperator Overture, Declaration Overture, all those are really fun pieces that should be looked at. Let's see who else. Oh gosh, Andy Clark has some good stuff. I mean, every once in a while, I like to go back in the library and dig really, really deep and find some stuff from the 80s or early 90s and pull it out because it sounds different.
Sure does.
It's different. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's fun.
and the woodwinds are asked to do different things
Absolutely.
in those pieces. You know, like typically the clarinets are a little bit higher. They're asked
Yep.
to, I mean, like just look at Salvation is Created and look at that clarinet part and how it's got to like live above the staff with the flutes. Now, I know
Yep.
that's a harder piece, right? But
There's a
now composers know like they treat the clarinets especially a little differently, so it sounds harder than it really is sometimes, and in the second might be below the break or what have you.
yeah.
But those older pieces definitely have a different demand.
Yeah. Well, there's an arrangement of Salvation created by Vincent, I think. That's
Michael Brown.
maybe it may
Yeah.
be that's really accessible. I like to pull it out every 2 or 3 or 4 years, just and teach it at the beginning of the year so that we can start working phrasing and balance and blend and maturity and all that stuff. So that's a good one to check out.
I'm totally with you. I love that piece. I've used it as well. Let's listen to it here. Salvation is Created, arranged Michael Brown. back to the tuner caddy side of things. What are some challenges that you've kind of found in developing tuner caddy?
Um, the the biggest challenge is people just not being really aware of, and I don't, this is not an insult, but your ears really aren't as good as you think they are. And until you really get in there and start listening, it doesn't get better. It's kind of like I tell my kids, I say, okay, we can all get, we can look through a pair of binoculars and we just look straight through them and we can see the mountain, but it might be a little fuzzy. Well, that's how we are with our kids when we're playing notes and rhythms correctly. I mean, we're just getting close. We're kind of seeing the big picture, but we're not really seeing it. It's not until you fine tune that in and really get that clear before you really see the magic. And it's the same way with intonation. Until you really get all the kids tuned in and get a good center of pitch, you don't know what you're missing. And I really try to drive that home because I've had a lot of directors say, well, we'll tune one or two times a week. Oh my God, if you're tuning one or two times a week, that means that most of the time you're out of tune. You can't trust the kids. I mean, until they understand, you can't trust them and you can't trust yourself because you're listening to beginning band kids, most of the day, and good God, you know. So that's been the biggest challenge. And then the greatest reward is when directors come up and say, "Oh my God, Mark, you were right. You were so right." And we're talking about really good band directors that have said that to me. So that makes me feel really good.
Some schools who might want to start down this path, obviously funding can be
Mhm.
an issue. So, what are some ways that you can help with the funding?
If they have a grant, a local, foundation grant, or if they know of a grant, they can let me know and I will send them answers to grants that will help them get the grant. I've had lots of grants approved over the last year and a half by people that just said, "Hey, I need the answers." And, I sent it to them and they cut and paste and adjusted it to it and it's been really cool. It's perfect for STEM grants, technology in the classroom. It's perfect for it.
So, what's the price? Like, say somebody has 100 people in their band and they want to get 100 of them.
Well, I don't sell them personally. I don't direct sell any of my products. I'm a firm believer that we need to support our local retailers, our music merchants. They're the ones that are sending, road reps into our classroom and stuff like that. So if somebody calls me and says, "I need a quote for 100," what I will do is I will send them to their local merchant, or I'll send them to one of my national retailers. Okay, so just I want to be a real upfront with that. Um, the prices range depending upon the market in that area. The caddy itself might be $16 to $18, and the tuner might be 23 to 28, $29. It just depends on the retailer. They're not going to be much more than that because they want to be competitive. So yeah, I mean it's not a bad deal at all, especially for the tuner because it's a chromatic tuner. The entire screen lights up on it, and it's got a 6 foot microphone cord, and it's a metronome. So it's a really good deal.
So, what's next for you in Tuner Caddy?
Um, I'm hoping to get into more classrooms. I've started, venturing out. Like, for example, my son lives here in Charleston, and last year over spring break, I just threw out on Facebook, I'm going to be in the Charleston area. My son's at work. I don't want to sit at the apartment with his cat all day. Does anybody want me to come out and listen? And I had a couple of directors take me up on it, and so I was able to go out and spend the day with these schools and just, being an extra set of ears or being an extra set of hands, and saying, "Hey, why don't you try this or why don't you try this?" And so I'm hoping to be able to do more of that in the future. I'm giving myself probably 2 more years in the classroom, um, at the least. And then what I'd eventually like to do is I want to retire to Florida, and clinic there, and do more tuner caddy stuff. I mean, we've been traveling a lot to the local conventions and stuff, and really talking to directors. We went to Virginia VMEA last year, and of course TBA and TMEA, and I want to go to Florida Music Educators next year and just get out there and talk to more directors. That's been, that's been the really another really cool sidebar on Tuner Caddy is that I've really gotten to talk to directors from all across the nation. Yesterday, one of the clinicians came up and she said, "Well, I just bought a bunch of tuner caddies for my group." And I'm just sitting there going, "Oh wow, you're really good. Thank you." And she said, "I want to hear what you do and how you do it and all that stuff because I want my kids to get better." And I'm going, "Your kids are probably really good right now." But so that's been really exciting. I've gotten to get into band rooms and hear really good directors do really cool things.
And finally, last question for me, unless you've got something else you want to throw into
No, I'm good.
some other advice for band directors. Maybe sometimes I phrase this as, maybe younger band directors who have maybe not
Mhm.
lived a full career as a band director yet. What's some advice you might have?
Um, Check your ego at the door. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Trust me, you don't know what you don't know. And so, find a mentor, even if it's, someone that's, just barely ahead of you, or even someone that's behind you, and say, "Hey, can you, listen to my recordings? Can you, or how did you fix this? What did you do in this situation? Or I can't get this kids to play this. How do you fix that?" Um, don't be afraid to ask questions. Um, because I've found 9 times out of 10 the directors are like me and they'll just talk your ear off. I mean, band directors love talking band. So that's the big thing. Find a mentor, check your ego. Don't worry about, what people think of you because, they were you at one point. There's only a few directors that I would ever, think have made it to the top. And those are the ones that are usually sitting next to me at things like this, taking notes of what's going on there. So that's really inspiring, to sit and listen to, someone give a clinic on clarinets crossing the break, and Dr. Tim is sitting right next to you, and he's taking notes on how to cross the break because yeah, he's going to go teach beginning clarinet, but he's still learning, and so that's really cool. It's never stop learning, and don't be afraid to ask.
I love that. Mark, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
We sincerely appreciate you taking your valuable time and listening to the Growing Band Director podcast. Your students are very lucky to have a band director like you. If you have any suggestions for episode topics or think you have an area of expertise to share on a show with us, please reach out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your band director friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening to The Growing Band Director. See you next week.